Happy first day of November. Hello. This is an impromptu open mic because I just felt like talking to you guys. No real topic to really tackle. I mean, I think we tackled a lot of them last week. Today is November 1st. For DC people, this is going to be the first feature day, the first official day that James Gunn and Peter Safran take over DC Studios, the first day of DC Studios. So who knows? We may start getting announcements about their future intentions from today all the way throughout this week. I would not be surprised. Other than that, it's been a pretty boring Monday. It's been Halloween. By the way, um, believe it or not, I actually hate Halloween. I detest Halloween, and I know science fiction, horror, fantasy guy hates Halloween. I just find it an affront because here's the thing. I celebrate science fiction, horror, and fantasy 365 days a year, 24/7. I don't really get too excited for one day. I indulge in the horror and science fiction and all manner of debauchery, no matter what day it is, no matter what holiday it is. I'll be watching horror movies and hosting horror events on Thanksgiving or whatever. Christmas doesn't matter to me. Halloween is one day where the common man celebrates all that kind of stuff, but the absolute total sci-fi horror nerd like myself will be celebrating it November 1st all the way up until next October 31st. So that's just the way I am when it comes to Halloween. I'm kind of happy it's over because the focus, and absorbent amount of focus is put on costumes and scary stuff for, in preparation for one day when I spend all year preparing for it. So let's go in the chat. Hey, Aaron, how are you doing? Jar Jar Froger, what's going on? Vince, what's going on, dude? All right, what do you think of Vegas getting an XFL team? Well, I was here the first time that they had one, and when Vince was running it, and it was sort of exciting. It tailed off real quick though. After the first year, I mean, like, as if I can remember correctly, it was 2001, and the Vegas XFL team actually won the. I think they won the XFL title, if I can remember correctly. It's been a long time, but I remember when the excitement was right around it because Vince McMahon had created it to be counter to what the NFL was at the time. A lot of those guys did not like the kind of rules and stuff that they felt slowed down the game and this and that. And now years later, after concussion protocols, all kinds of stuff. Remember the XFL, you didn't have dude, you're gonna have to remind me, some of you guys who were there too. You didn't have a fair kick. One of the reasons why you have a fair kick in the NFLs is so that you don't get your special teams guys slaughtered. There was a lot of stuff that they added to the game that I thought was kind of cool, but years now after we've seen all these things, and all you hear about what NFL and professional level players put their bodies through. It's basically the equivalent of getting into a car accident every Sunday. That basically some of the impact that their bodies take, and people realize that a lot of those rules are there. So that they lost its appeal then. Plus, it is really, 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 really hard to counter the NFL. Even if you're not counter programming them on the dates that they're showing, once the Super Bowl is over and the national championship game is over, a lot of people just don't have appetite as much as they thought they did for football. I know you have the Canadian Football League, you've had the UFL, but if you look at, with the exception of the Canadian Football League, all these iterations of these leagues have come and gone. The only one that's really stuck around, I mean, I remember the World Football League. I mean, NFL Europe. I remember the AFL. I mean, there's variations that come and gone because the NFL is pretty much like a monolith when it comes to sucking up all the attention and all the bandwidth. And after the Super Bowl is over, you feel like you've been to the top. So Vegas having one, and it's different here in Vegas too, because at the time that the XFL came to Vegas the first time, we didn't have any professional teams. Now, not only do we have a hockey team, a top tier hockey team here, even though I don't root for them, I'm a Kings fan, but we have the Golden Knights here. We have the Raiders. I mean, we have a $1.2 billion stadium right off the strip area there. That is now the home of the NFL team. That will be the home of a Super Bowl team. So it's going to be interesting to see how much attention that a non-major league sport, outside the big four, does when it comes to it. So it'll be interesting. I know The Rock is behind it as well, and he's got to, obviously, we know he's got to get head on his shoulders, business wise. But I just think that the NFL is so huge and sucks up so much energy during the 6 or whatever months that it's out there, that once it's over, the party's pretty much over with it. But who knows, man? We'll take a look at it. Hey, Film Goblin, how are you doing? How's everybody doing? Kiki Speaker, popcorn time, always. Well, 2020 XFL League wasn't really a continuation. No, it wasn't. And I don't even know why they even bought that back then. It's just like it's really tough because of a lot of your top tier talent. So they go from college after your sophomore year. You can go. You can pretty much declare for the NFL draft. And I understand that not everybody makes it, but most of your top tier talent is taken up between college football and NFL. So it's like the attractions, aren't there as much, as it would be if there wasn't, like with baseball. It's like, so when you do minor league baseball, one of the major reasons why minor league baseball does well a lot of places, pretty much everywhere you do minor league baseball, is because they have affiliations with major league teams. And college baseball is sort of big in certain areas of the country, but it's not like college football. You don't have as many eyes and television contracts put on college baseball as you do. A lot of the guys who are top tier MLB players don't even go to college. They're drafted right out of high school, and then they go right into the minor league system. So you get a lot of star power that's there. So it's kind of hard with the NFL because there's really a pipeline that comes straight from college that's already there. And a lot of the people that were in the NFL, XFL, or Arena League, or any of these leagues were guys who, for the most part, couldn't make it in the NFL. And it was good that they got a chance to show their wares, but at the same time, when you're trying to build an audience and ratings and TV money, it's really tough, especially when you don't necessarily have the backing of the NFL, because it doesn't necessarily benefit them. All right. XFL, St. Louis Battlehawks are selling 20K tickets. They are bringing that team back. People are here happy. Big thing about that, though, is, too, you don't have an NFL team in St. Louis anymore, so it's a good time for it. I mean, I'm not going to say that the Battlehawks are going to fill the void completely because you just lost a major team and then they went to win on the Super Bowl. But there's still a void to fill. There's still an appetite to fill for football because they just lost their team. Battlehawks. Oh yeah, Chris is from St. Louis, so yeah, he's right there with you. People have an appetite for good football, and not guys that would be second string quarterbacks in NFL practice. It all depends on the market too. It all depends on the market. Like where you're at, St. Louis, I think is going to do great because of the fact that you built up an NFL culture, and you won a Super Bowl there 4 years after they got there. And you have the greatest show on turf. And St. Louis Rams are built a culture of football in that area before they went back to LA, so you have an audience that's there ready to watch football. Whereas, okay, you go to LA or you go to Vegas where there's already, LA, you just had the team that won the Super Bowl. You have the Chargers there already. Here in Vegas, you have the Raiders, and they draw from all over. And then in places like New York, you have to, some places like that, you have two teams, major markets. So a lot of it is going to depend on where you're at. Like if they, I don't know where all the teams are at, but if you notice, college football, the stronghold for a lot of these teams is in the SEC. And a lot of those places a lot of those cities that are in college football that draw really, really, really well, don't have major league teams or NFL teams near them. They may have them in the state, but they don't have them near the main, Alabama, things like that. Even though you have Ohio, Cleveland and, Cincinnati, you have them in different areas of the state. Florida State, Tallahassee. So it all depends on the market, and if there's anything countering the market that is going to happen. Plus the TV money is big. It's one thing to have a XFL team do great in a city, but if you're trying to get a national TV deal, and that's how these guys really pay people, and sponsorships, it really has to resonate nationwide. It can't just be, the Hawks doing great in St. Louis and then XFL team in Vegas not drawing, because that national TV deal is how they balance the scales and how it's like the NFL. NFL has $6, $7, $8, $9 billion TV packages, and they have revenue sharing and baseball and things like that because of TV deals. When you're watching on TNT, they're paying billions of dollars. Each of those sports are getting paid billions of dollars. That's how the NFL and the NBA and the Major League Baseball have become juggernauts. So it's going to be really hard because those same markets and those same sponsors are also NFL sponsors. And the NFL is pretty greedy when it comes to their sponsors. All right, so honestly, it's a nice concept, but I have zero faith in it lasting. The NFL is a black hole. That's it. Yeah, I just said it's a mountain. Like I said, it's cool, and I'd love to see something like it take off. But like I said, I think the average customer sees the NFL as the end all be all, and that's unfortunately why some of these leagues haven't lasted. Hey, Jesse Allen, what's going on? All right, let's make sure I didn't forget anybody, because this particular short time that I am on, how you doing, Cisco, is for you guys. I don't have any particular topic. It's wherever you guys take it tonight. I just want to get into the rhythm of giving at least an hour a night, because I know Enosh doesn't stream all the time. And I know we just want to keep that rhythm of the lounge, give you guys at least an outlet. I mean, I may not be Enosh, but it's at least an outlet that we can converse together. So just want to try to get into that habit. And while I'm watching Raw here, and Raw does not demand my full attention these days. Wow. Let's see. Chris, Phil Goblin, Hunter Iggy, how you doing? William, how would you introduce Superboy or Power Girl or Lobo? Who would you cast as Superman Man tomorrow if it was the title name of the DC? Well, I cast Henry Cavill. I'm hoping I'm getting that question right. How would I introduce Superboy? Almost never. I would not introduce Superboy into a cinematic universe. If I ever did Superboy, it would be in a HBO Max type series, and I would align him would become the Legion of Superheroes, and I would make it a kick-ass, dark, cyberpunk type of superhero show, and Superboy would be linked to that as he is in the legendary Adventure comics and things like that. So if I ever were to introduce Superboy, it would be in the show. Lobo, same thing. I would like Lobo's the kind of a character that I want to give more than a movie to. I'd want to actually have him come in and out, in series and things like that. I mean, even Peacemaker. But as far as when it comes to Superman, I really hope that they handle Superman in a singular fashion. The only thing I want to see on the screen with Henry Cavill is other top tier Trinity superheroes and their villains for right now. As we get down the line and we get this thing established, but right now we're reestablishing the brand of Superman. So I really want them to focus primarily on there. This is just my opinion. And plus, like I said, I hope, even though that they say that they're focusing on the big screen primarily, we still have HBO Max. We still have this big, nice vehicle for HBO Max that you can give B and C characters time and to let them grow on people. Like I said, paying $14 for Wonder Twins or Plastic Man, no, it's not happening. All right, I love my money too much. All right, sitting down and watching some of those ridiculous characters on HBO Max, where it's less of an investment, but I already have it. Now you might get me going, and you might be able to gain traction there. But I really hope that they balance it out with their TV stuff and their movies. But yeah, to answer your question, I would cast Cavill as Superman. If that was the title, I hope that's not the Man of Tomorrow is all right. Like I said, I just hope they call it Superman, but Man of Tomorrow is fine. And like I said, I would not introduce Superboy ever on the big screen, and Power Girl would be the same thing. Power Girl, they have such complex stories that movies will not even do those characters justice, in my opinion. Movies will do the main characters justice because they are the main character. They are the focus of the movie and their villain. But when you're talking about the B and C characters, you need more time. And if you read those kind of characters in the comic books, you realize the reason why they are able to survive, they survive off the oxygen that the primary characters give them. So we have to understand that as well. All right, Chris, Bipolar Jedi. I always want, Chris, whenever I see your name up here, I want to read your question in your voice, but I can't do your voice with any justice. It was like, hey, man, I mean, I just like, dude, you need to make money doing voiceovers, man. You're missing out. The Rams broke my heart. I'm still not over them leaving. I listened to Drake songs, Bats Malone songs, cry in my shower. The Rams damn. The Rams damaged LA. The problem with the Rams and the Raiders at the time, they both left pretty much the same year. Is okay, so the Rams left LA because they were ran by Georgia Frontiere, probably one of the worst owners in all of sports history, no matter what sports you pick. Probably one of the absolute dretches of sports ownership. All right, and at the time, the LA Raiders and the LA Rams had the two worst owners at the time. Al Davis is a Hall of Famer and he's a legend. I understand that, but not for anything he did in the last 25 years of his life. All right. And what happened is they were both angling for brand new stadiums. But at the time, in the mid 90s, actually the mid 80s, all the way to the 90s, you have certain districts in LA that have more power than the other. And as you get closer to downtown LA, that has those assemblymen, those are in the high rent districts. Those guys, just like any major city, those guys had the money. And they all wanted, okay, we'll give you a new stadium, but we wanted you to put it downtown, or we wanted you to put it here. We want you to put it in Inglewood. And at the time, nobody wanted to be anywhere in Inglewood. You remember the late 80s, early 90s, there was a lot of gang violence. All right, Compton, Inglewood, all these things. And the South Central and the downtown area of LA wasn't really revitalized until the late 90s when they built Staples Center and they revitalized that area. And now you have all your NFL teams there. All right, but at the time, the NFL did not want a stadium there. They did not want any NFL team using the Coliseum because the Coliseum's like a 100-year-old building. I mean, built in 1934, pretty much. It's a really old, falling apart building with no luxury capacity, nothing. So both teams basically said, if you don't build us a new stadium, we're going to leave. All right, Al Davis basically got lied to by Oakland. Didn't get anything signed, didn't get anything in paper, anything in writing. Oakland promised Al Davis's great, beautiful stadium. Oakland was never going to do that. Al Davis should have known better. But he picks up and he goes up north and he goes back to he leaves the second largest market in the nation, in LA, and goes up to Oakland. Not even the largest market in their own region. San Francisco is a much larger television market, and they dominate. They pretty much share that market. So he goes up to Oakland and returns back to the same Oakland Alameda Coliseum that he left to begin with. There's been no improvements on it. They keep telling him, hey, we're going to build you the stadium. It never happens. They keep voting it down. Then he sues the NFL for a $1 billion, and the NFL gets laughed out of court. After holding the NFL hostage to leave, then he returns, and then he leaves again. And then he tried to get back into LA, but they had already given those markets back to LA and the San Diego Chargers, who were originally there. So that's how they ended up in Vegas. With the Rams were ran into the ground. They were mismanaged. It was before Kurt Warner and the Greatest Show on Turf, Georgia Frontiere ran that franchise into the ground. Granted, this is an NFL market. The Rams are a legendary franchise. All right, and they ran it into the ground. People weren't showing up to either of those games because by the mid-90s, we knew that they were trying to leave. And when you're charging season ticket and high-end NFL money, and by the way, we're going to bolt first chance we get, people weren't showing up to the games. Nobody wanted to go play for these teams at the time, especially with the Rams. So they left, and then she goes there, and Stan Kroenke becomes part owner. He never wanted to leave LA. Stan Kroenke's one of the richest men in the nation. He's an LA guy. So once she passed away, I think she passed away recently, or they sold the team. He got the majority of ownership of the team, and he takes them back to LA. And he built his own stadium, no city money, nothing. Stan Kroenke built a huge, massive stadium, and that's where they're at now. And that's where the Rams played their Super Bowl in. So that's how that happened. But yeah, it broke my heart too. Not because I was necessarily a hardcore Raiders or Rams fan, but to see them treat the city that is my home. I live in Vegas right now. I live in Vegas. Los Angeles is my home. That's where I grew up. That is where I gained my sports loyalty. So seeing them treat my home that way just kind of made me hate both of them at the time. So yeah, it broke my heart too. All right, Arlington, Houston, St. Louis, Seattle, San Antonio, Orlando, and Vegas. So Arlington, Texas, that's Dallas. That's Dallas territory, really. Houston, you have Houston, Texas. St. Louis is a free market. DC, you have a questionable owner there who's probably a jackass, but they still got a good following in the DC. Seattle, you have the Seahawks there. San Antonio, free market there because you don't have a lot going on there. Orlando, yeah, and then Vegas. Vegas is going to be interesting. We literally have the Raiders here, and the Raiders aren't just drawing from Vegas. They draw from Oakland. They draw from Southern California. You see people in the stands at Raiders games that have been you see on TV that have been going since the 80s. When they left Oakland, those guys came down south with them. And when they went back up north, they took LA people with them. And now that they're here in Vegas, they got both LA and Northern California. The Raiders draw very well. It's always been that mystique. Even when they were losing and had, when Al Davis was just, like I said, not the very best owner at the time. Now his son runs it a little bit better, but like I said, Al Davis and Georgia Frontier, two dregs, man. So it's going to be interesting to see how an XFL team. Well, once again, it kind of doesn't matter where they are. It's the TV money. All right, the TV money is why a team in Green Bay can stay competitive with two teams in New York, and why a team in Buffalo can be competitive and draw free agents against a team in LA, two teams in LA. The reason why is because you have a salary cap, you have revenue sharing, and the TV money is split equally amongst the 32 teams, no matter how big they are. So that's a contract that allows NFL, Major League Baseball, all these things going on. The beer commercials, all that stuff is collectively bargained. When you have a lower tier team like the XFL Arena Football League, they don't have that big giant contract to draw from. So it's really hard to sustain them because you're paying a lot of people. You're paying people to run stadiums. If people don't show up to the Browns game, I mean, they all show up. But if for some reason the Browns falter or St. Louis or wherever NFL market were to falter, they're brought back up by that shared revenue. If a team in Orlando falters, they don't have that shared revenue to take that brunt, and they still have to pay people on their local level. So yeah, that's why a lot of these leagues don't. I mean, I understand you guys' enthusiasm, and listen, I hope I'm wrong this time around, but there's a reason why they've come and gone, and it's really because of the draw on the TV. All right, Philip Goblin. I also want to ask, what are your worries and concerns when it comes to the next Superman movie? We know you like that Cavill's back, but what are your worries that they'll do? Um, the only worry that I have is that they may not learn from Superman Returns. I don't think this is going to be an issue with James Gunn and Peter Safran because of the type of filmmakers that they are. Stay away from the nostalgia. Right? This is not 1980. I am not 6. I do not need my 6-year-old Superman. I don't need a Superman from a cartoon. Take a look around you, the atmosphere that we exist and we live in today, and give me a Superman that fits in this day and era. That is my only worry that they would not do that. But it's not really a worry that's high on my list because given James Gunn's sensibilities and the way his style is and Safran's experience, I think they know. I think they know that they have to make a Superman that is relevant for 2022 and beyond. In many ways, they have to do what a lot of people resisted back in 2013 with Zack Snyder, is they have to make a Superman that is relatable to the people, the way people are living now, the way people see the world now, the way people see religion and all that stuff now. And that's why Man of Steel was such a classic. A lot of people weren't ready for that because they weren't ready to, like I've always said before, to let go of their childhood Superman. But once again, we're doing business today. So as long as they realize, and I have no doubt that they will, that don't give me a cartoon, all right, and don't give me something from 40 years ago, I think we'll be fine. I think we're in good hands. All right, Marcus Cruz, how you doing? No, I did never got into the John Wick movies. I watched the first two. I thought the first two were second one wasn't as good. Um, the third one I saw with a buddy. I wasn't really into the John Wick movies. I don't know what. I don't know what it is about the John. I mean, they remind me, I hate to say this, of Steven Seagal movies, but better because Keanu Reeves is better than it seemed like a lot of the same after a while. You know what? But like I said, I'll go see it because we sponsor those movies, so I'll be there for them. But I don't know. I mean, I just like a lot of the killing. Jack Reacher was another one for me. Jack Reacher. It just seems like those type of movies have to be really really different for me, and I just didn't see anything. I'm glad that what they done for Keanu Reeves' career though, because they make those movies for relatively cheap and they make good money off them. So you're going to see a John Wick 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, 10. He'll be like Jason. All right, hey Stella's in here. Jesse Allen. Imagine they do Lex as a villain. I think Lex Luthor will be a villain in a lot of the Superman movies, but I don't know if he'll be the main villain. I think he'll be a mover and a shaker. I think he'll be a catalyst, like somebody who hires a villain or somebody ends up creating a villain or something like that. I don't I don't know if he'll actually be the direct villain. I'm rooting for Brainiac personally. I really want to see Superman held up against Brainiac. I really love the Krypton series and what they were doing with it, and wish I really got more of that. But I really have always wanted to see Brainiac with this particular Superman. That's just me. Stella, you don't see Stella? Where is Stella? Yeah. Everybody's saying Stella's here. I know she's here somewhere. Fun, Jesse Allen. I hope not. That should do great. Yeah, yeah. I mean, we're sharing the same brainwaves. But like I said, even if Brainiac is the enemy, there's no saying that Lex Luthor won't be in the movie. He's that kind of weasel. Film Goblin, and what's your thoughts on Black Adam's box office? I think it's fine, and I think I hear a lot of people that probably should know better saying it's a flop and saying that the people at DC are worried and that this concerns them going forward. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. All right, that's applying fanboy logic to business. These people aren't stupid. All right, right now the box office is around 250 million. You're probably going to get another 100 million or so, if not a little bit more, when it releases in China. If you look at the averages movies, so that brings it near 450, $500 million for a $200 million movie with $100 million. We're guessing promotional budget. All right. Now that means you cleared 100 million or so on profit off of a movie that this current management group was not there when this movie was being shot. They were not there when the concepts were handed in. They were not there when the editing came in for that movie. Everything that you may or may not like about Black Adam, just imagine if David Zaslav, Peter Gunn, and Peter Safran were there sitting in the dailies. Black Adams has a lot of problems with it. Even though I found it a fun movie that I loved and to go see and love to have fun, there's a lot of problems. That movie could have been infinitely better. But the $7 Studios made the best movie that they could with the oversight that they had, and we all know what that oversight was. So if those guys are going to look at it this way, let's just say that they say we had a target of this and we missed it. First thing you're going to do is you're going to do an autopsy. Basically, you're going to see what can we do to either salvage this or improve this going forward. Well, the first thing they're going to do is be like, well, wait a minute, everything that we're saying is things that we would have done, but we weren't there. So that's your massive improvement right there. Think of what it would have if there would have been better management running into Black Adam. Henry Cavill wouldn't be just getting signed to a major contract. He wouldn't have been rushed in at the last minute. You would have already had him there, and his role may have been bigger with the Justice Society, or you would have had other things linking into it. So the box office now, I think it's going to end up, right now it's at 250. And people are talking about, it's a 59% drop, but they're looking at it as if we aren't talking about a company that just merged, a company that is writing off pretty much all of 2022 is going to be a loss for Warner Bros. Discovery because of the debt that they purchased and versus what their revenue is bringing in. So they're going to write all this off anyway. So, but as far as their decision making going forward, what it means for the future of DC, it means nothing. it means nothing because these people aren't dummies. They looked at this company. They looked at it. They knew what they were stepping into. All these projects that are already in the can, they're trying to align them to get the best that they can get out of them. But there's only so much that they can do because these things are already locked. They're already done. The most that they can do with Black Adam, besides adding more money to the ad campaign at the last minute, was literally to add Superman in it. That was what they could do. But as far as like adding substance to the movie, adding a better villain to the movie, adding some better whatevers to the movie, they weren't a part of that. So it's going to be really hard for them to look at the finished product or whatever Black Adam ends up making as a negative when they are already wrapping their brains around the company to see what they can do next and positively. So I think where Black Adam stands is fine. Another problem that people, that fanboys, and I'm one of them, don't understand is that even though we know who Black Adam is, we know who Shazam, we know who all these characters in because we got our heads so stuck into this universe that we just know we were not going to know them. The general audience is what props these movies up. The general audience is where the mass majority of the money is going to be made. And they may know The Rock, but what brings you to a superhero movie is a familiarity to the IP. With DC, independent stuff and some Marvel stuff at the beginning, like especially back in 2008, it was different. But when you're talking about when you put somebody flying around in a cape with an emblem on their chest, the general public's expectation is Superman, fairly or unfairly. There were no expectations when you stuck Robert Downey Jr. in that tin suit. There were no expectations. So you had a lot of room to do whatever you wanted to. But when you do DC and you go flying and you put emblems on chest and people who can do godly things, automatically they're going to go to Superman, Batman, and so on. So this movie had a character in it that is not only a B character, he's a derivative character from a much smaller character, which is Shazam. So I think, given all of those circumstances, and those aren't an excuse, that's just math, that Black Adam is doing fine. Now, in a Peter Gunn, James Safran, David Zaslav world, let's be honest. All right, Black Adam probably doesn't even get made because their focus would never be on a character like this. They may have made it, but it wouldn't have been made before a Superman movie or a Batman movie or a connected Batman movie. Black Adam would have come after some heavy hitters, and we would have basically placed Black Adam as a complementary movie, and it would have probably done better box office wise as part of the universe. One of the major problems about Black Adam, and I think a lot of people are making a mistake, they're putting a lot of weight on a character that most people just don't know who the hell he is. All right, Black Adam was never supposed to be, even though I know The Rock said it's going to change the hierarchy. Black Adam, it was impossible for Black Adam to carry the same type of weight that a Superman or Batman film would, and that's just reality. But right now, 250. Let's see where Black Adam is at, because I think that last I looked at it was yesterday, and it was 250 something. Black Adam box office mojo, and like I said. So yeah, right now Black Adam's box office mojo is 250 million, 210,807, 139 international, and 110. And it has not opened in China, which is like huge. That should bring it, with it releases in China on November 11th, and people are saying, well, Black Panther is going to wipe it out. Black Panther is going to wipe it out domestically, yes, but there's not going to be any Black Panther in China, not for a while, if ever. So I think that it's where it is fine. I think that the DC Studios is fine with it as far as, and I think you'll start to see a lot of the announcements. People are thinking that DC Films was hiding under their beds, waiting for the results of Black Adams. No, grown people don't do stupid shit like that. All right, these guys are planning for the long view, and they know that after all these movies that are currently headed out to theaters, there's going to be a time where they're going to be in charge of a movie from beginning, middle to end. When they announce a Man of Steel, whatever, that is going to be their movie. They're not going to have to fight anybody on anything. That is going to be James Gunn's movie. That is going to be Peter Safran's movie. That's going to be David Zaslav's movie. Unlike the movie that you just saw, unlike The Flash, unlike Aquaman, the next major DC movie that gets announced, major IP, is going to be under this new regime. And that's where I think that you're going to start seeing it. I think you're going to see incremental changes and you'll see improvements from the previous management of now, but you're going to see the wholesale difference when they start doing, working on the movies that they greenlit, that they announced, and that they have full control over. So I think that we're in a good place with that right now. Hopefully I answered your question without going too far into it. William, how are your thoughts on Charlotte Hornets so far? I have not watched too many other teams right now. I'm focusing on my knucklehead Lakers and finally getting their first win the other night. I don't get a chance to watch Eastern Conference stuff unless it's on national TV. So I don't even know what their record is. Sorry, Hunter. Get back to me later on in the season after they play the Lakers. I'll probably have a little bit more insight. That's what happens with me and my teams, my hockey teams and my sports teams. I get a lot of insight on particular teams when they're playing my team because my announcers go over all their details. So, all right, Georgia Frontier moved the Rams to Anaheim, knowing attendance would be bad, and she can move the team. Yeah, she really fucked up the team, dude. She did stuff that like I said, you're in the largest, second largest market in the nation, and you're trying to sabotage that. You had teams fighting to get to LA. The NFL wanted teams in LA, and you guys are trying to leave. Yeah, not too bright. All right, did you see XFL teams' names and what they're going to be playing? No, I did not. I'll have to go. I know The Rock made some announcements or something like that because he owns the league, so I haven't seen it yet. Sorry. All right, boxing. Okay, there you go. There you go. Vince is excited. Good. And Vince has put the link in thing. So, oh my God, I remember all that. Yeah. Not only that, Davis kept drafting dudes in the first round purely based on speed and kept missing Jamarcus Russell. Rocket Ishmael. I mean, yeah. Cranky became part owner in 2010. Yeah, and then he took over. And what year did she pass? Did she pass in 14 or something like that? He took complete control. Thank goodness. All right, we drafted Banks, and he was a bust, and it all kind of came together with Romero got there. Well, Romero got there, and then you had Trent Green, who was pretty good, and he got injured, and guess what happened after that? And you had it was him, and it was you had DeMarcus Ware, you had Marshall Faulk was really the big Kurt Warner and Marshall Faulk. Marshall Faulk won an MVP there. Marshall Faulk, dude, fantasy wise, Marshall Faulk got you some points, man. Marshall Faulk got you some serious points. He could catch and he could run, and he would catch not just for a couple of yards. Marshall Faulk and guys like Peace Holmes would catch for like 110, 120 yards a game, and they would get multiple touchdowns in the air and on the ground. So if you got one of those cats in your fantasy league, man. But yeah, and that was when the New England Patriots came in and upset them that one year. After the Patriots cheated to get there that year. So. And right as the first refusal, Shahid Khan wanted to buy them. Yeah. He owns the Jaguars right now. Another will be gotten franchise there. Hey, Hunter, how you doing? H Parts. He was part owner from 1995. So yeah. He did not want to. He did not want to leave LA. Nobody in their right mind wanted to leave LA. So, it's happy Halloween or happy day after Halloween right now because we are now November 1st. Wow, in 24 to 25 days or whatever, it's going to be Thanksgiving. It just came so quickly. I'm happy to. This is my favorite time of year, though. Favorite time of year. All right, what's everybody dressed as? I was Zack Snyder's Black Blues. I dressed as a dorky nerd, a dorky comic book nerd. It looks like it's Sleestack. And that is the costume I wear year round. And you're still dressed up. That's hilarious. I was at work, so I didn't dress up. Yeah, it's really hard to move around in costumes in certain environments. Day of the Dead. First day job. So let's see. Exactly. That was the biggest problem with fanboy logic being forced into the business because part of it, it's infuriating. You said it perfectly. Fanboy logic doesn't. It just doesn't, man. It doesn't. And people are, like I said, I keep hearing people do streams about Black Adam, being, whoa, what's Zaslav going to do? He's going to look at it. He's going to be like, wow, we inherited a mess. And there's a reason why. There's a reason why Zaslav is there. All right, let's be honest. There's a reason why Zaslav was there. Why the company was in debt. Why it went from 74 billion down to 43 billion. There's a reason why Walter Hamada and all these guys, no matter what you might think about them, the entire management team, for the most part, is gone. There's a reason why they're gone. You can come up with there's a reason why they were gone. If things were going well, they would still be there. Things are not going well. And you can come up with every excuse you want for Hamada. He came into a bad situation. Nobody cares. All right. This isn't first grade. You don't get alibis. You don't get second place trophies. If you're part of a losing team, you go. It's way in sports. It's way in the military. If you are part of the losing team, you're still, excuses to be damned, you are still a component of that losing team. When we have when we had, some of the commands would have what's called a 15-6, which is a command. It was a command investigation. So where they basically they investigate your entire command. So say if somebody fucked up or there was a pattern of people fucking up, so they investigate, and if there's a pattern of failure and a pattern of whatever, they open up a 15-6, and it's an entire command climate. So if you're part of that command, when they start plucking people out of that command, they usually pluck a lot of people, NCOs, officers, everybody. Even though no one person was necessarily directly part of it, you're still part of that culture. You are still responsible for collectively whether things went right or wrong. And that group that preceded James Gunn, that preceded Peter Safran, were collectively not doing what was needed to be done. So if you're coming in and you're going to look at Black Adam, you cannot escape the fact that it was the same things that allowed you to be there in the first place. The same people that allowed you to even be there and to buy this company at a devalue rate. And if you're James Gunn and Peter Safran, the same people that allowed you guys to even have your position to supplant them are the same people who made these movies you are now inheriting. So you're running an uphill battle. So whatever they're gonna make off of Black Adam, for one, like I said, I always thought, and you can look at Enosh's stream, I always thought anywhere between 5 to 650 max for Black Adam was and that was high end for Black Adam. If Black Adam ever approaches 600 million, that's excellent. Because you're talking about a B character with a bunch of other C characters surrounding him. You may love the Justice Society, but to the modern contemporary fan, nobody knows who the fuck they are. I like him too. Nobody knows who they are. So your engine to drive this movie was one guy. And then you didn't have a really good ad campaign by leading up to it. And that's another thing. Do you think James Gunn and Peter Safran are going to have the same type of ad campaign that the previous regime had? No. Just look, just no. All right. The ad campaign for Black Adam was not good. It got a boost at the end, but that was because the regime came in at the end. This ad campaign that launched Black Adam was in place before Zaslav took over the company. And then there were changes. Like I said, getting Henry Cavill, in September? Damn movie got released in October. So, yeah, box office is part of it. Circumstances are another part. I think they're looking forward. He might be on Aviator Universe. Okay, I don't know what you guys got on there. Hey, Larry Kotaritz, $9 super chat. Thank you for your support. What up, everyone? A huge Snyder fan, but a bigger Superman fan. I have to say that I'm happy that they used the Williams score, Black Adam. I love Zimmer's score. I love the Zimmer score, but this says to all Cavill is Superman. All right, so I understand why, people who Cavill is their Superman. I can kind of understand where you're coming from. I don't have a problem with you. but I understand the business reasons for them doing that. And to me, it was a smart decision because you are uniting the fan base, even though that song is 40 some odd years old, 40 almost 45 years old, depending on when the original Superman was released. That song has been handed down to a lot of. You hear that song played at sporting events. That song has been tied to Superman for decades. All right, for decades. Now, them using that song doesn't mean that they're going to have that song necessarily influence Superman. I don't think whoever James Gunn picks is going to be of that mindset. But to me, I felt it kind of united because I am a child of both. I am a child of both Christopher Reeve Superman, and I am a grown man of Henry Cavill's. So for those of you that are drifting apart, to me that song is unifying. It's that song that is synonymous with Superman, with our Superman. It's saying that this guy is worthy of that legend. That's what it told me. That this historical song that is recognized by people of all walks of life all over the world, it's like this. It would be like, you know, Ric Flair, as some other person came along that reached his level as far as like, greatest, and he came out and said, you know what, take my fur coat, take my feathered $10,000 coat, take my leather shoes. You're worthy of that. To me, it's saying that this Superman, this iteration is every much a part of the Superman that song represents. That's how I see it. And I think if you look at it in that way, it's not as negative. And plus, like I said, I think the next time you see him, you're going to hear Hans Zimmer score, because that also, even though everything I said was true and I still believe it, at some point, we want to give that kind of song to Henry Cavill so that 15, 20, 30 years from now, we now have a John Williams score that is synonymous with Henry Cavill, and so on and so on and so on. So I think it's a lineage, and I think it's kind of cool if you look at it in that regard. All right, so let's see, another super chat. Thank you again, Larry. I just hope that people at DC are smart enough to blend Williams and Zimmerman scores eventually. People have already matched them. Oh yeah, I've seen the ones on YouTube. And like I said, and plus, you know what? We've only we've only had Man of Steel, BVS, and then Zack Snyder's Justice League, and then the horrendous 2017 one. But okay, Hans Zimmer is still kicking and still making new stuff. He may come up with something that was, you know, we may hear the Man of Steel, but he may come up with something that's more signature than even that. Man of Steel theme is cool, but is that the best Hans Zimmer who wrote that? Who wrote that theme? Does that the best he has? Maybe he has something better. Maybe he has something riveting. I mean, we haven't seen that Superman on the screen very much as as we should have. He may have something else in store for us. So I'm kind of looking forward to that. If it turns out to be the Man of Steel one, that's fine. If it turns out to be a mixture, I'm cool with that. Like I said, it's a lineage that it's almost like after all these years of resisting the Superman, he's now part of the culture that once resisted him back in 2013. So I think it's a cool thing. It's a badge of honor. But yeah, I want to hear, dude, anything Hans Zimmer does, I'm in for. I listen to Hans Zimmer. I listen to sound scores from movies that I don't even like because Hans Zimmer's doing them. So, all right, make sure. Make sure to I put it in my description here. Make sure to subscribe to my channel. Like I said, we're working on really short. Like I'm screening there right now, so because it's going to be this is not going to be like a 3-hour show. I'm streaming there now, but we're going to be doing a lot of really short stuff. I seen on TV, some live streams from the live events that we do. You'll see me. We have Project Ripper coming up. You'll see me live streaming from there. We have a video game show that I'm doing right in the middle of the Sci-Fi Center that is called Kill Count Cinema. It's going to be kind of a show that is about watching really, horror movies and things that, and then basically having trivia and like a test afterwards, and people are going to win prizes if they get the kill count right. And there's going to be a whole bunch of other things that support it as far as questions and goes, and we give them prizes. And I'm going to do a live version of it, and then I'll be doing a studio audience version of it. So got a lot of stuff that'll be going on that network. But like I said, right now I'm just hanging out at the lounge doing the majority of stuff here. Hunter Iggy William Powell, what DC animation movie would you like in DCU? I think I'm going to lose Hunter here. I'm not a fan of DC animation. I sort of hate DC animation. And listen, and I'm not making fun of anybody who likes DC animation. Some of you guys grew up with that stuff. As I always explained, I grew up with The Dark Knight Returns. I grew up with Frank Miller's Batman. I grew up with a Superman, pre-crisis, post-crisis Superman, and I always felt that the cartoons were redesigned to fit a much younger audience, and after seeing Killing Joke or reading the Killing Joke, after reading Batman Year One, Batman Year Two, after reading things like Watchmen, after reading things that heavily influenced me as a DC fan in the 80s, and then seeing all that rolled into what would become the DC animated universe, I've never been a fan of it. You guys have seen me jokingly put DC animation and Marvel animation, for that matter, on the ban list, because there was a point in time in the 90s and somewhat early 2000s where, as that generation started growing up and buying comics, they started to influence the way the stories are being told. And that, in my opinion, led to the downfall of a lot of paper medium when it comes to comics, and from 1997 all the way up to maybe 2000, 2005, 2006. And it wasn't until we started getting the comic book movies, the harder edge comic book movies that we are now enjoying today on both DC and Marvel side, that we started getting that demographic back. But to answer your question, since I'm not a fan of DC animation, I would have to see, to me, The Killing Joke. The Killing Joke would be the one, or the Apocalypse War. I did watch these. I mean, but those would be the two that I would have to pick if I did pick them at all. But like I said, I'm sorry, guys. I have a hard spot in my ass for DC animation. I never thought it fit. I just wasn't a fan of it. And being that animation doesn't make a lot of money, I was very surprised that DC kept it as long as they did. Now you're starting to see them kind of like crunch things down. But for those of you who grew up with it, I'm glad you had fun. I'm glad you had that. But it's a crossroads for me. It's like oil and water. Your Superman and your Batman that you saw in those cartoons wasn't the one that I grew up with, so it was really hard to swallow when I would see those on there. So sorry, but those are the two I would give you, Hunter. Thanks for the question, though, man. Am I the only person? This is Larry. Am I the only person who felt like Black Adam post-credit scenes was setting up them being cool with each other at first? Yeah, because it looked like there was a fight about to happen there, man. That look where they zoomed in on the Rock's face looks like if there were 5 more seconds, you would see Superman flying through the sky of Kandor, and then Superman being like, okay, well, I guess that talk is over. So, yeah, I thought there was some ass beating about to happen there. That's just me. Maybe the crowd, maybe the chat is different. But, yeah, I thought that was a precursor. That's like a bar fight where you, like, somebody makes fun of, makes a pass to some other guy's girlfriend while they're in the bar and they're both getting increasingly drunk and the room falls silent. That's what I thought that was about to happen. So, yeah, I don't think they're going to be cool with each other. I think, especially with Viola Davis's character sending him there pretty much I think the peaceful part of that conversation was her talking to him and warning him. Once he blew up that monitor, I think there was some violence coming, which I could say I cannot wait to see. All right, Film Goblin, do you think the Flash will do this? No. Because there's no necessity for any reboot. If you're going to spend the time and the money to reestablish Henry Cavill, Batman, and all that, I don't see. It just doesn't make any sense to do a reboot now. And what I think the question you may be asking, I'm going to clarify this, is there may be a realignment of what we already have. But I don't think you're going to restart stories. I just think you're going to continue on. Now, what they can do instead of rebooting, and this is what I would encourage, is refer to what you want to refer to. If you don't want to refer to the 2017 film, you don't have to. If you don't want to refer to Zack Snyder's Justice League, you don't have to until you want to, or until the writers and directors you get say, you know what? Remember that storyline from a couple years back that they started but didn't finish? I've been thinking about that for a long time, and now that I'm a director, I want to do this, and that with it. Let the creatives take the stories where you think they can take it, and let James Gunn and Peter Safran forge that direction. But I do not think that the Flash is going to be a reboot of any kind. I personally, I know everybody's been saying Ezra Miller is done, but money talks and bullshit walks. If let's just say for shits and giggles, the Flash pulls in 1.2. Not saying it's going to, but the Flash pulls in anywhere from 875 to 1.2. And it is perceived, because they have ways of figuring this out, that the cause of that, the main catalyst of that, is Ezra Miller's Flash. And I know Batman, we're going to have Michael Keaton Batman. By the time Michael Keaton's Batman hits the screen, it will be a 34-year-old Batman that most people that are going to go see this movie weren't even alive to feel that kind of impact. All right, so if it is perceived that it's Ezra Miller's is the catalyst for that movie, and he doesn't get any more troubles and doesn't go full Jeffrey Dahmer or Richard Ramirez, and he keeps his nose clean, and 8 months from now this movie does well, people are full of shit when they say, "Oh, never did it." You know what? If that's they also said there was never going to be a Joker sequel either, and all these other things that they say until the money comes in. Money trumps bullshit. Money trumps fanboy logic. Money trumps YouTuber logic. Money trumps pundit and critic logic. Money trumps all that. If the movie makes money and it is perceived that he is a major part of that, they're going to want more money. It is a business. So if that happens, I don't think there's going to be any reboot at all. I think that we're just going to go forward. I think that they will establish that whatever's happened in the past is there. We don't need to reset anything, and we just go forward. We go forward in whatever direction that James Gunn and Peter Safran, they can go forward in their own direction without having to reboot. Because once you reboot, you really can't go back without making yourself look stupid. And reboots generally have the effect of making the people who do them look stupid. And they have the effect of killing businesses. Look at comics. All right. DC Comics is hurting where it is right now, primarily because all the reboots and continuity screw-ups. On top of that, you had some bad storytelling. But you had bad storytelling in the wake of so many reboots over the past 30 years. Like I said, if you've been collecting comics since 1985, 1986, or even half of that time, you've seen more reboots than you ever need to see. The word reboot, like I said, is synonymous with stupidity. If you Google stupidity, reboot's going to be one of the words that you can use in its place. All right, you are wasting people's time, you are wasting people's goodwill, and doing so needlessly. You have the band back together. You don't have to refer to the old songs if you don't want to, but you don't need to reset anything. Let the future directors and future writers decide what they want to use and what they don't want to use, and just leave it there. You don't have to erase. You don't have to make an active move to erase or reset anything. So I'm hoping that that's what they do. And like I said, it just looking at what they're establishing right now, it does not look like rebooting and resetting is in their plans. Whew, man, drying up again. Probably got another about maybe 10 minutes or so before I run out of steam, or you guys run out of questions. All right, what story would be adapted? What story would be adapted to reduce a giant? Believe it or not, and I know this is going to sound lazy, but there's one out there already. See, when we left either Justice League or we left Zack Snyder's Justice League, right where they are, You can spend the next 2 or 3 years not directly referring to those. But Darkseid is a unifying villain. He is a god. He is a new god, and he has a an entire planet of an arsenal that he can aim at Earth. You also have the new gods themselves. They're living on New Genesis. So everybody thinks crisis, 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 and I'm like, yeah, that could get messy. But Darkseid is still coming to Earth in either iteration of Justice League. If you decide to leave either one of those in place, Darkseid is still coming to Earth. He now knows that the anti-life equation is there. All right, so somewhere down the line, they're going to have to deal with Darkseid, and Darkseid is not just an enemy that one of them can face. That's going to be not just a team effort. That's going to be Green Lanterns involved effort. That's going to be, entire Earth, armies involved, and that could be the culmination of your first wave, a storyline that's already there. And then from that point, you can move on to different things. But I think that the first major crossover should be the Earth War between Apocalypse and Earth, because you already have the pieces in place, and it makes your stories that you already have in your catalogs, it makes them relevant again. So you still have HBO Max out there. All this stuff is on HBO Max. All these movies are on HBO Max, and it gets people headed back from the theater to your streaming service. So if you like, if you like Man of Tomorrow, whatever they're going to call it, and you don't have HBO Max yet, and you start realizing that a lot of these things tie back to it, guess what? Now, not all I have you on two different mediums. So, I think that they should go ahead and finish the Darkseid arc. XFL, USL was USFL. Which version though? The newer one or the one that was the one that Donald Trump was involved? Because that one gave you a lot of NFL players. All right, time will tell. All right, but how is Peter Safran still there when he was a part of the losing team with Hamada? Because he wasn't he wasn't the guy. He wasn't the guy, and Peter Safran had a resume that preceded them. Right? Peter Safran's resume preceded them, and it was perceived that he was part of some of the wins that were there. And remember, he did Shazam. Shazam was considered a win for them. Aquaman was $1 billion movie, and Peter Safran has a reputation that exceeds with DC, and he wasn't calling the shots. Walter Hamada, Johns, Emmerich, those guys were the ones calling the shots. He wasn't on that. He wasn't on that chain. If he would have been part of the leadership structure, then yeah, I would say he would be part of the losing team. But he wasn't. He was just a producer. Now he's part of the leadership, so it's a different ball game now, in my opinion. All right, maybe we'll let Zach make Nightmare cut. You know what? I hope so. I think one of the biggest truest crimes in comic book movies is stuff I never see how that turns out. I have to see how that turns out. I don't care how you give it to me. Claymation, sock puppets, I have to see how the Nightmare thing folds out. It was such a beautiful tapestry, and that's been one of the things that's just been burning at me ever since I saw that. And it got even worse when I saw it in Zack Snyder's Justice League, because seeing it in BVS and seeing that Omega symbol on there, knowing that that's what it means. And that's what I mean by the storyline that they could all gather around. We already know one way or another, even if you didn't make it to Justice League, Darkseid was responsible for that. That hellscape that was in BVS was Apocalypse, apocalyptic right there. So we already have that story in place. So I would love to just see that finished. Let's see. Yeah, Safran wasn't part of the decision making process. Hamada and them was. I love. I'm not calling it that. I love House of the Dragon, and deciding I want to start watching Game of Thrones, but I keep hearing that the last season is terrible. That I don't know if I want to start watching. No, watch Game of Thrones. Fun. With the exception of the last 2.5 to 3 episodes of season 8. All right, Game of Thrones is an epic series that you really should watch. Okay, don't not watch the season or the series because of a couple bad rushed episodes. Even that season 8 was still a great season. It was just drugged down a little bit by a few bad episodes. So no, go ahead and watch Game of Thrones. That's what I say. Yeah, I agree there. So hey Chappie, how you doing? Black Star Afro, the Christopher Reeve Superman theme song is not different than the Star Wars theme. I would have had said started, but have a different on each new show. Yeah, yeah. Like I said, this was just a reintroduction. This is saying, hey, we're back in the game again. So I understand. Oof. That's subjective, I guess. I like Junkie XL score, but I liked Elfman's original score, but it had a time and place. All right, keep your speak to your hands. Will keep the core of that thing, but make it better. Watch, yeah, he's a genius in doing that. Like parts of Gladiator turned into Pirates of the Caribbean. Also, on that note, if for those of you who've seen Blade Runner and Blade Runner 2049, you listen to the score that he uses in Blade Runner 2049. He takes Vangelis' score and basically augments it. You could still hear the style and the theme that from the movie 35 years prior, but you hear Hans Zimmer's drive behind the melody and the majesty that is Vangelis's original theme. So he can do that. He's very well. He's one of the best at doing that, if not the best. Okay, like I said, I'm an outsider when it comes to DC animation. I know you guys love it, but I just couldn't do it. So the other day, people asked me, "Am I excited about Deadpool?" No, I didn't hate Deadpool movies. I hate the character Deadpool from its inception. I had the first issue of it. I mean, he New Mutants '98. I mean, he just was just a bargain rate assassin and mercenary. I just never really connected with. And then now, I have never seen a Deadpool movie in the actual theater. So I've always seen them on the small screen. Probably not going to see Deadpool 3 on the big screen. And as far as Logan's in it, you're going to have a hard time proving to me that I didn't already see the best that Hugh Jackman can do for Logan and Logan. All right. Once I've seen Logan, do I really want to see some slapstick bullshit in Deadpool? No. Personal preference. So having to get on and talk about, Hugh Jackman's coming back. I mean, there's just certain things that I'm just not excited about that other people are, but maybe it's because I've just seen too much. Yeah, I'm starting to see those DC animated stuff isn't like the comics that are made to be. Yeah, and like I said, it because of the generation and where I come from is a big. It's a me issue. It's not a you guys issue. To me, it's like I have as much use for DC animation as I do a G-rated Friday the 13th movie. If you are going to when you change the trajectory of a character and the tone of a character to fit something that it was never meant to be for, you literally are changing the DNA of those characters. I feel the same with X-Men. I'm adamant about this. I would rather you make something brand new for that demographic than distort something that was never meant. The X-Men, dude. All right, 3 years prior to showing up on what I call a kids cartoon, the X-Men were involved in stopping mass slaughter and genocide with Mutant Massacre. I mean, Wolverine was a killer who killed, even for comic book standards, graphically. The Marauders were violence. They were shooting people at point blank. This was before school shootings and mass shootings were a thing. The X-Men were doing it in their book, and now we're gonna fluff them up for a cartoon. Just not my deal, man. I couldn't do it. I hear that theme and it just I hate that theme. I hate that theme because it reminds me we went through all of the X-Men being the most revolutionary storytelling with Chris Claremont and John Byrne to a kids cartoon, and that hurt. So yeah. And I grew up with those DC animated stuff, but as I got older, the comic stuff like Dark Knight Returns and Watchmen was, yeah. And remember, so I'm flipping. I had those things before the cartoon, so it's harder for me because it was like I said, it would be like Like I said, it would literally be like a slasher movie where you have all 3Ds involved and then making that movie. It's like when you see your favorite horror movies and they put them on TV. And so there's no boobs, there's no slashing, there's no cutting, there's nothing. Not even any cussing. Fudge and short, and they replace them with those words. That's what DC and Marvel animation was to me. It was like putting my favorite horror movie on network TV to where you can't do what the movie was meant to do. So I think that's the best interpretation of it. But like I said, for each his own. And if that's what you grew up with, I'm not making fun of you. It's just me and the content I talk about and stuff like that. It's really hard for me to talk about those two mediums because I cannot stand them. And it's because I come from an era where those characters that they turned into fluff were not fluff. So, but I understand. Like I said, business is business. They wanted to widen their scope. So there you go. The comic that just came out. Yeah, I sold out of that. I couldn't keep that on the shelf. That and Ronin. Ooh, the last Ronin was like, dude. I mean, I thought people were gonna break my doors down for last Ronin. Batman Ninja would be awesome. Like, yeah, Batman versus Ninjas. Yeah. You know what I want to see? The Man Who Laughs. Oh, give me the Man Who Laughs or the Batman Who Laughs. That Dark Knight's Metal. In fact, give me all of Dark Knight's Metal. Give me all of Dark Knight's Metal on on live screen. I'll take it. All right, people like Bruce Timm and Jeff Johns need to stay away from DC. I really think so. And listen, I know a lot of people like Bruce Timm and think he would do well in the movies and stuff like that. I'm like, no. If you put Bruce Timm's on live action, big screen, big budget stuff, to me, I'm going to get a lot of hate for this. You're telling me how much you regard that, and it's not a lot. All right, those guys are good for their medium. Jeff Johns, especially. Jeff Johns is an excellent storyteller as long as you keep him within his parameters. When you give Jeff Johns control of things, that's where the problems. He's not an executive producer. I don't care what the title of he gets. He's not a filmmaker. All right, he's a good storyteller, but he has to be kept within the confines of the mission. Tim's, no. All right, we're talking, especially if we're talking a tonal difference and a tonal shift that is going to be for the 18 to 35 demographic or beyond. You're gonna need a little bit more meat on the bones than that guy can put it. And I never want to see that, but that's just me. All right, when Joker and Harley are farmers, yeah. Oh Jesus. Yeah, Grounded, Elseworld. Yeah, Elseworld, Batman, Gotham by Gaslight. It does not have to be on the movies either. Right? You have HBO Max. If Black Adam bombs financially, will Zaslav still move forward with Black Adam sequel, or is he done with Rock? No, he's going to move forward because, like I explained before, whenever if something were to bomb, and I don't think it's going to bomb. Bombing would be if it made less than $200 million, or less than 300 million, and you lost money. I don't think it's going to be a money loser for them, even though a lot of people are speculating. I don't think it's going to happen. But let's say, for instance, it is. The smart people in the room who actually get paid to do this stuff are going to look, and they're going to be able to recognize what worked, what didn't, and why it didn't work. And a vast majority of the autopsy is going to be things that they weren't there to start with. They didn't decide when this movie was going to get originally released. They're the ones who delayed it, and now you know why. They weren't the ones who launched the ad campaign. They weren't the ones who built the universe around Black Adam so that Black Adam had enough support to be catapulted into an extended universe. They're not the ones that need that. So it would be silly for them to make a decision adversely going forward over things that they had nothing to do with. All right, you can't say that that The Rock is not marketable because of whatever this movie brings. Say it doesn't do well, because the marketing is not The Rock. The Rock is the actor. He's the producer of executive producer, but he's mainly the actor. He's not the director. He's not the engine behind the movie that makes a movie a multi-million-dollar thing. All right. Warner Brothers has entire divisions of people who make 6 digits and more that are their job is to set these movies up 8-9 months in advance. Their job is, in January to set up everything that's supposed to be going on with Black Adam as far as the media hype goes, everything goes. Trailers, those trailers were horrible for Black Adam. All right. Those trailers were being shown before Zaslav took over. So there's so many things that I can tell you right now that it's like we call it in the Army an after action review, an AAR. All right, and we basically start with what was the mission and what went right and what went wrong. Okay, but usually for an AAR, I'm there from the beginning of the mission. Me and my NCOs and me and my crew, we're there from we are the mission. We're not coming in half-assed, after the mission has started. So right there is going to be item number 1. What could we have done better? Well, just about everything, since it wasn't us to begin with. All right. Marketing, everything could have been better. Having Cavill locked into a multi-deal contract to the point where he could have been better utilized and, up to this point. Having other movies lead up to Black Adam, things that they could not do because they were not there. So I don't think they're going to use any of this criteria going forward with Black Adam because it's not a fair. There's just not enough relevant data that's going to come out of this one way or another. You either have your plan going forward or you didn't. And I think that these guys have their plan going forward. I don't think they will be done with The Rock at all. I think that once they took over, they started making their plans. Like I said, we're going to start hearing about this stuff real soon. Everything that we're hearing about in the next coming days has been in place for weeks, maybe even months, if not longer. And it wasn't hinged on what Black Adam was going to pull in then, and it's probably not going to be hinged on what Black Adam pulls in now. So the answer is the long answer short is no. All right, William Crest me up 8 times. He says sock puppets. Yeah, he's referring to whatever way they can give me an end to the Dark Side arc that Zack Snyder brought in. Sock puppets, claymation. I don't care. I just want to see the end. All right, Kiki. I would hate not to see what happens at the end. Yeah, that's what I mean. That there's an itch I need scratched. I just have to have that. Give me that, and I won't ask for anything else. All right, now Yaha Abdul Mateen playing Marvel Wonder Man. Do you think that's switching over to Marvel, or do you think he'll be playing both characters? Yeah, because he doesn't have an exclusive deal with anybody, and he's at a point in his career. His star's on the rise. If they wanted him as Black Manta down the line, he signs the check. Or if they wanted him, remember he was Dr. Manhattan in the Watchmen series. Say for instance they want him to do that, unless there's a schedule conflict, there's not. And like I said, those things can be worked out. These guys have filmed 3 or 4 movies a year, so they can work that out. I don't think there's I don't think a guy like that is going to sign an exclusive Marvel contract. When even as Wonder Man, there's just not enough work being done there. If you got a guy who's doing 3 to 5 movies a year, and he's doing a lot of movies, he's just not going to wait around for Wonder Man to be used again and not take another gig somewhere else. So no, I don't think any of these guys who cross paths and cross companies, unless they sign exclusive deals, and I just don't see that happening, would preclude them from playing whatever they wanted to play. All right, I wish we got to see George Miller's Justice League Immortal. I just don't think it was time for it. Somewhere down the line. I mean, I know George Miller's getting up there, but somewhere down the line, I just didn't think it was time for it. But that's just me. I hated Elfman Score. A lot of people did. William Mays comedy. I don't hate comedy. It's just not my preference. I don't pay to go see comedies in a movie. The last comedy that I went into a cinema was in 2008 for Tropic Thunder. That was the last time I put down my money for a comedy. It's just not my thing. I am a science fiction, horror, fantasy guy. Drama, too. I don't do comedy. I don't like slapstick. I don't mind humor. I don't mind your serious or your grounded story having humor and having comic relief. But I don't want the tone of it to be comedic. That's a comedy. I don't see romantic comedies. I don't see bromances. Fuck human interest. I don't care about human interest. All right. And don't put human interest into my science fiction, horror, and fantasy. If I have a horror, the human's job in the horror movie is to die. That's it. I'm not interested. I don't care who you're in love with. I don't care about your backstory on your way to your death. I don't care. All right. So those type of things for me, I have priorities. So yeah, I'm not, like I said, Deadpool's not my thing, or I grew up watching sitcoms, but I grew out of that. So I don't hate comedy. It's just not my genre. It's like I don't like blues. All right. So I don't like blues. I mean, I'm not saying I don't. I mean, I listen to a lot of stuff, but it's a preference to me. It's just what it does for me. Comedy does nothing for me. I watch some stand up stuff like that, but as far as like comedy theme things, if your movie has humor, I'm in. But if your movie's a joke and that's the point, I'm not. I'm not it. It's just sorry. So I don't. I think hate's a strong word, Vince. All right, Chappie. While director George Miller's Justice League Mortal would have been interesting, but I'm glad the Justice League that we ended up with, just a masterpiece that is Jack. Yeah, I mean, I love George Miller stuff. I mean, dude, the dude should have been nominated for Academy Award winner. He should have. I think he should have won for Fury Road, but they go can't do better than Logan. Yeah, I just don't see. Like I said, and the announcement that Hugh Jackman was going to be in Logan or going to be in Deadpool moved nothing for me, moved no ground for me. I saw, in my opinion, the best performance that man could give as that character, and I don't. I highly doubt that will be surpassed in Deadpool 3. Logan was one of the first 4Ks I bought. Yeah, that's one of my all time favorite comic book movies of all time. William, how can Blade Runners operate in 2099 as replicants can reproduce? Let me start that over again. William, how can Blade Runners operate in 2099 if replicants can reproduce? Because not all of them can reproduce. He never perfected that. That's probably going to be part of the premise. Remember, not only did Tyrell not perfect it, but the one he had, remember, she had deficiencies and stuff. She had to live in a bubble because of the fact that the reproduction, the way it was reproduced. So that's why Wallace wanted her. He wanted the child because he knew he could perfect with Tyrell. Tyrell died before he was finished. Batty killed him before he could finish, and that was what he was working on. And Rachel was a prototype. So there's not all replicants can reproduce, and that, like I said, that alone. Remember when she said this breaks the will, so that could be what's breaking the will in 2099. I don't know what the story is going to be like. I just know I have to have it in my life. I have to have as much Blade Runner as I can put into my veins as possible. I want to OD on Blade Runner. All right, if that's how I leave the planet, that's how I want to leave the planet. Blade Runner. All right. So let's see. Some people came to New York City Comic Con as all Dark Knight. Yeah, dude. Oh man, the Batman who laughs is just epic beauty for me. I would love to see that on live action. Okay, William. Oh yeah, your shirt. I have somebody working on your shirt. I'll check on that tomorrow. And I got your message. I don't think it's an issue. I think because I was able to send out so many, I don't think there was a receipt or anything else like that. I think they've gone out already. Some of them have gone already. I know Max should be getting his, but I'll check on that tomorrow or later on this morning. No, I do not. I love horror movies. I honestly can't remember either when I went to go see a comedy center. It's just me. I mean, like I said, they do well, and people who love them, that's for you. But I just never connected when it came to paying money for comedy movies. It's just comedy is just not my thing. What's the deal with all these scoopers saying that Ezra Miller is no longer playing the Flash and that they're going to recast him with Flash 2? You know what? Like I said, I can understand where people are coming from with all the stuff, but I always try to tell people that we're not in a TARDIS. We don't know what's going to happen in 8 months. We don't know, and most people in general, whether they know about this, don't care. All right, not everybody who goes to the movies is involved in as much as we are. They don't hang out on Twitter. They don't hang out on YouTube. And they don't, if it doesn't affect them, they don't care about the headlines he's involved in. All right. Even if they know about it, there's no law saying that they have to care. and there's no law saying what they can't support. He could be. They supported Robert Downey Jr. He was in a jump shooting chains, getting arraigned for drug possession. So you can't tell the audience what not to support. And if the audience comes out in support of this movie, and it is perceived that his presence in the movie is a big part of its success, money talks. All right. Fanboy logic does not apply to keeping the power on or to keeping people paid. If the movie does well and he's perceived to be a part of it doing well and they want to make more money, there's no guarantee that they're not going to go that route. All right. There's no guarantee they're going to go that route. They're not, like I said, when we get on the internet, we want to think that everything we know and talk about is what the world is talking about. And this is not the case. And even if it's the case, like I always bring up, all right, we just went through a pandemic, killed 1 million Americans, right? We were ready to move on from COVID while COVID was still killing people. Ukraine. Remember when the Ukraine war started? All right. Everybody had blue and yellow flag, Slava Ukraine, all this stuff. We support democracy and all that. Right? How many you even watching or keeping up with that now? All right. Murder hornets. All this stuff. We are a society and a culture and a world that moves on to the next glowing dot on the wall. And 8 months from now, we do not know where we're going to be or what the hell we're going to care about. All right. Or how it's going to affect us. And like I said, you can't tell a customer what to like or not like. If he decides he doesn't give a fuck about what's going on in Ezra Miller's life, he's going to go see him, which a lot of people do when it comes to these celebrities. They're going to do it. We always bring up Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson has 23 rape allegations against him. Most of them he's settled out, paid millions and settled out of court. Right? Yet the dog pound on Deshaun Watson's first game, it could be in the ice cold snow. They will be in there with those rubber bones and those dog helmets on in the ice cold watching Deshaun Watson. All right. A customer is going to do whatever the fuck the customer wants to do. He or she is not going to necessarily adopt your morals of right and wrong. All right. Because you guys are the general, the small YouTube and Twitter world might think this is reprehensible what he's doing. How can Warner Bros. Do this? The audience is not bound to give a fuck about what any of those guys think. And most of them won't know or care about it. They're going to go pay their movie. Their relationship with these celebrities and these stars are what they can do for them on that field and what their job is on that screen. If those things are fulfilled, most people aren't going to care. And you can't make them care. And they're not going to care about you not caring. So if that totals up into money being made, the people who are counting the money are going to be like, there's no guarantee. I don't know why they're saying that. It sounds cool, I guess, at the moment. But there's a lot of stuff that sounds cool until the money starts dropping. Joker's a classic. They're never going to make a series until I made $1 billion. Now we have another one. All right. So, there's a lot of things that are we're a result based society, and if the results end up financially advantageous for the people counting the money are going to do whatever the hell they want to. So yeah, I don't know why everybody's saying that. Like I said, even if it were true now, something that's true on November 1st, 2022, doesn't necessarily be true back in June of 2023 when this movie gets released. Money changes everything. So, only sitcom I watched, I never got Seinfeld. I was so outside. Just like, everybody was laughing, and I was like, I don't get it. But that's just me. My main sitcom is Frasier. I got Frasier. All right. Each part's always... Yeah, replicant rebellion, or maybe there's parts of the world that are not adverse to replicants like the United States are. I mean, there's a lot of potential, when it comes to Blade Runner. Okay, Chappie, but it would be amazing if director George Miller directed Nightmare movie spinoff. Yeah, that would be great because he could do it. That's basically a Mad Max hellscape that Nightmare is on. So, all right, hey y'all, I got fucked up for Halloween tonight. Okay, well, since you're typing this, you made it home okay. All right, that's all. You're typing this. That means you are safe somewhere, and I hope you had a good time. And Dad Dude Vince is getting fucked up right now. So here we go. Hey, everybody, you guys are in the safety of your own home. Do whatever the hell you want. Yeah, money talks, fanboy bullshit walks, and like I said, I'm the biggest fan as anybody, but I understand that decisions are not made on the whims of my fandom. They're made on money. All right, when it comes to Edra, there's more rumors than fact. If he was guilty of everything, he would be sitting in a jail cell since that's it. And like I said, I think that Warner Discovery is very well versed on what's going on. I think they have a good idea for the most things how things are going to end up, and I think that he'll take some lumps, but take them now, take those pleas now, and like I said, come June, it's up to the customer to decide whether how much they care about that. All right, yeah. Let's see. I want to know Affleck's status too. Who knows? We have some time. Maybe that's one of the things that'll get announced. Happy Halloween. All right. No, not that I know of. Not that I know of, because I will be alerted because I'm next up. If J Lo ever drops Ben, she's gonna do this. She's gonna be like, Ben's gone, damn it. But I got William here. She's gonna scroll down. Maybe she's decided she no longer wants a man that looks like a human anymore, and she'll look me up. No, but to answer your question, I don't believe so. I don't know, but I haven't been updated yet. I honestly didn't like RDJ as Iron Man after Iron Man 1, but after that, it just felt like RDJ was playing himself, and that Tony Stark wouldn't make weird jokes in the comics. Yeah, and because we had nothing to compare him to, and most of the people who saw Iron Man weren't comic book fans, they got away with it. So there you go. All right, guys. Let's see. I know there's a lot more. Yeah, he's getting help, and like I said, there's been a lot of stars that have gone into rehab, and they've halted production. I mean, what Edward's going through is not new. So I'm almost going to wrap it up here. If you're James Gunn, if you were James Gunn, it's November 1st. What's the first thing you do? I announce a Superman movie. You know, and then I go from there. Superman is the key. Whatever you're going to announce post Superman is going to be gravy, but he is the key to this universe. Even if he's not in every one of your movies, what you do with Superman is the key to the momentum you will have going forward from one project to another. So, all right, guys, that's about it for tonight. I've gone about an hour and a half. I was going to try to keep down an hour, but thank you guys for joining me for this impromptu open mic. Um, if you have any other questions, and if I didn't get to your question, do me a favor, copy and paste your question and put it in the chat on either with this stream or my other stream, and I will answer it. I will answer. I will respond to anything I wasn't able to get to tonight. So if you have a question and you want me to answer it, or if I didn't get to it tonight because I'm losing my voice right now and I'm quite tired, I will get to it in the comment section. So thank you all for joining me tonight on this impromptu. Like I said, I'm keeping my promise. I'm gonna do more and more and more of these as they fit my schedule. And it seems like a lot of you are up at night, so you can do it with me. So I will try to make this a nightly thing. But thank you for everybody that showed up tonight. And like I said, we'll get bigger, and pretty soon I'll start having some co-hosts on, because I'm learning now that once I reach about 45 minutes of talking, I start getting real dry, and that ain't good. And I start sounding like a muppet. So here we go. And thanks for showing up tonight, guys. And like I said, questions, comments, leave them in the comment section, and I'll get back to you.